There we are. Hello, hello.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Unapologetically Badass podcast. I am Renee, and hello, Sierra.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us again today.
And we are so super excited to have Jenna Warford here with us, and she's going to share her badass story. So I met Jenna a few months ago, not a year, right? No, it was
Not quite a year, but last spring.
yeah.
For sure last spring.
Wow, that time flies, right?
It does. It does.
And I was like immediately, in love. And so we were like, okay, when Sarah and I, created this podcast, we definitely had you on the list. We were like, we want to hear, because when you and I were sitting at dinner and hearing more about your story and your journey, that, really resonated. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is a total badass, and talk about reinvention. So without sharing everything and spilling the beans too quick, but Jenna, would you introduce yourself and kind of give them a little synopsis of who you are and your journey?
Well, I actually have used some events in my life to kind of help transform where I was to where I wanted to go. So I started writing in the fifth grade. In the fifth grade, I started writing. I think I won my first writing contest in the fifth grade, and I kind of turned it into a career that worked for me as a stay-at-home mom. So I was working from home before it was cool.
Yeah.
And then when I ended up coming into the social selling channel, every time there was something that looked interesting to me, I raised my hand to do it. And so I ended up writing books and traveling and doing all kinds of things that I had maybe a little bit tiny dreamed of years and years ago. But every opportunity that I got, I kind of went, yes, and raised my hand for. And so it ended up with me actually having my dream career and my dream life. And I could not be more excited about where I am today and where I'm going to be next month. So
I love it. I love it. What was it like transitioning from being a writer to a go-to expert in the potty plant space? Like,
that it was an interesting journey because I had done all kinds of writing. I had done, articles, and I had done different podcasts and things like that. But what happened was I ended up writing for a consulting firm that was the top consulting firm in the US for direct selling companies.
okay.
And they held big events, big conferences. In fact, they still have a form of that conference today. And through writing it, I became very much a part of the corporate team, and I worked with their top strategist. And one day we were at a conference with a bunch of direct selling executives who had come to hear from the experts, and we would bring them on stage as the experts.
Mhm.
And our CEO got on stage and announced, to the complete shock of all of his executives, of which I was not one yet, that he wanted to become for Party Plan what they had been for network marketing for years. And I'm sitting between the two VPs who are his strategists, and the way they got really, really still let me know that this had not been on any discussion. This had not been in any meeting.
Yeah.
And so I honestly could not wait until we got back to the office and raised my hand and said, I want to be that person, and began to do all the research and talk to all the people and talk to people who'd done it well and talk to people who hadn't done it well.
Yeah.
And it started me on one of the rides of my life. It's been amazing.
And so
how many kids do you have, and how long have you been married? Because you said that this started as like a stay-at-home journey, and then it elevated. So can you tell us a little bit about home life really quick? I'm curious.
Well, I was a stay-at-home mom, and actually in ministry, but a stay-at-home mom until my kids were in middle school, basically. And that's when I kind of stepped my career up. Well, right after both kids graduated from high school, I had happened to me what I knew would never happen. And lots of people in ministry feel like this will never happen to them. But my husband at the time decided, hey, I think I like that one over there, and picked
Yeah.
someone else. I was
Yeah.
completely shocked. But what it did was it led me on a journey of taking chances that before really I didn't really consider. You know, you don't have to take as many chances in your career or in your life when you've got a backup plan, when
Yeah.
you are, you know, the secondary income. And then when there's nothing there's no reason not to travel. There's no reason not to say yes to a big writing project. There's no reason not to say yes to a brand new role. And there's only positive reasons to say yes, like follow your
Yeah.
dreams. I was big on raising my hand to take on new projects, but not necessarily ever pushed to take risks. And when all of a sudden I'm single, my kids are out of the house, so I'm an empty nester by myself, I can write all day. I can travel. I'm freed up for these opportunities. And so it was very much a spiritual journey, but it was also very much a coming into my own career wise journey.
Wow.
And
Love it.
I actually, I know this sounds really weird, and divorce is hard. And I'm not saying, hey, if you're struggling in your life, go get a divorce. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm
We've
saying,
been there. Yeah.
Yep.
okay, what I'm saying is, I had a chance to evaluate, what do you really want?
Yeah.
And the spiritual half of the journey kind of showed me that there really weren't limits. There really were all kinds of opportunities, and
Yep.
okay, let's do it. And that's kind of what it looked like. It was long and drawn out and slow, and there were a lot of tears. But on this end of it, it is, wow, I am so glad I took that risk. It wasn't that big of a risk. And the spiritual part of it was coming to believe in who I could be, and that I could be what I'd always dreamed of without
Oh.
limits. That was very much the spiritual part of the journey.
Sometimes
Isn't
you
it
have to go
tiring?
through that to discover.
Yeah.
Renee and I talk all the time about loving yourself and doing things for you. And had that maybe not happened to you, you wouldn't have loved yourself enough to do all these things for yourself. Sorry, Renee, go ahead, girl.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is when we go through a big change, something that happens in our life, we can either stay in that dwelling sadness or we can go, okay, what can we learn from this? And how can we take this into my future self to be the person that God was meant for me to be? And I think that might have been, right? That's that faith in knowing that there's a path. So accepting that, and when you accept it and embrace it, you're then more open for the opportunities that he's blessing you with. It's just a matter of us actually saying yes to those opportunities,
And,
right?
you know, I was probably slower at coming to really love myself and see myself differently than maybe your average person, because I had seen myself, because my first marriage lasted over 20 years and I had been with him since I was 17 years old. So I kind of grew up with
Yes.
one vision and version of myself.
Yep.
I had a positive view of myself. I was a confident person. But I have to say that sitting every morning and often in the afternoon, and then again every evening throughout the day, really, sitting face to face with God and Him telling me who I was over and over and over again. I know that sounds crazy, but I don't care. I've sounded
No, it's not.
crazier.
It's
So,
not crazy.
but
We've
Him
been there.
telling me who I was
Yeah.
changed everything. I would even say it changed how I look. It changed how I
Wow.
look at myself. I think it also changed how I look.
Wow.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. How did you embrace that? How did you get to the point where you were able to accept and hear what he's saying to you?
Um, because him leaving came as such a shock to me. I was completely taken off guard. He'd been upset for a couple of days about something.
Yeah.
And looking back, I see where it had begun several months before. I just hadn't noticed it because, in fact, if you'd asked me, I'd have said I probably had one of the strongest marriages I knew because I had it, just he didn't have it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yep.
but I was so broken by that happening because it was the one thing I knew would never happen because
Yeah.
I thought it was preventable. It's only preventable if both of you want to prevent it.
Right.
But because I was so broken, I immediately began listening intently. And listening to God was not something particularly new for me, but making myself completely vulnerable to hear everything he had to say was. So,
That's beautiful. And now you've
Yeah.
spoken at faith-based women's events too, correct? When did that
yes.
come into? Was that was post-divorce? That was after you?
I had spoken at a lot of women's groups, just very small Bible studies and things like that. I'd done that for several years.
Yeah.
But about a year after the divorce, or actually, because the divorce took a little while, about a year after he left, year and a half after he left, I started getting invitations to speak at women's retreats, faith-based women's retreats, and it
Love
just
it.
kind of ramped up quickly. And so it's still to this day, one of my favorite things to do. Absolutely. I 100% love sharing with women how much God adores them. Like
Oh,
he's literally waiting for us to turn our face to him and say, "Hey, what have you been thinking lately?" So,
Yeah. Oh.
that's good.
Okay, so fast forward through after, I mean, gosh, I hate that we always I want to have somebody on, Jenna, that has like a gonna be divorce story and it ends up like it being saved marriage, but it's just unfortunate that we've had to go through these divorces to become the women that we were designed to be, but amen for God being there for us always, right? Okay,
yeah.
so now fast forward. So now you've embezzled yourself into a corporate role through being able to understand how things work. I just keep hearing you say women, women, women. You had to go through that journey. You're loving yourself. So in your corporate role, how do you stay focused on ensuring that you have the best interest of women at heart? I always want to, because I know being in a corporate world, what that meant to me. So I would love to hear another perspective of what that means to you.
Okay, and I know that in some ways people would love for me to untie my spiritual journey with my professional journey, but it doesn't work that way for me.
Yeah.
So I am one of those people who completely believes that God intended women to have leadership roles. Well, I live in the South. And if you've spent any time in the South, there are large contingents of Christians who do not believe that. They 100% believe that leadership is reserved for men. And that's not what I'm reading when I look at the narrative of scripture. And so I did face quite a bit of people who would say, no, you can't be a leader if there's any men in the group, you have to let the men lead. And so it was kind of one of those things that if you're not from the South, you probably are going,
Like
what
what?
kind of cult is this? It is very prevalent in some areas.
Wow.
And so in one way, my mom and my dad raised me to believe I could be anything I wanted to be. That is, they were not people of faith when they were raising me, but they raised me to believe that. And so
Yeah.
now, because I have been on that battlefront in the faith arena, in the professional world, my belief in what women can achieve and what women are designed to achieve is
Love it.
so enormous that it's not really a struggle or a matter of needing to refocus. It is automatically something that comes out of me. For example, one of the things I absolutely love to do is every February, one of the magazines I write for, Social Selling News, does its month of the woman or something like that. And every year I pick like 12 women who are absolutely amazing in that category. And I get to interview them and I get to spend time with them. And they actually, at this point, let me, now they approve everybody, but they let me pick all the candidates. And so it is something that I find absolutely incredible. I get to have the best conversations. And it's not a matter of needing to refocus. I automatically believe we're designed for amazing things. We're able to achieve amazing things. And I actually think that if you don't believe the things in society that say, oh, men are logical and women are emotional, I mean, every front we look at, whether it's the political front, whether it is people on podcasts, when you look, who do you see like losing their minds, like getting all angry? I'm sorry to have to be the one to explain that anger is also an emotion. So rage, that is also an emotion. Arrogance, kind of an emotion, emotional response of insecurity. So it is something that, and I love and respect men. There are men in my life that I wouldn't trade for anything. I have an incredible husband who's very supportive of me. And the thing he says to me about any conversation I have about clients or things like that is, do you want to do this? Are you enjoying it? Are you liking it?
Exactly.
Can you do something else? I mean, it's sometimes like it was a bad day, not a bad client, baby. It was a bad day. So you're like, okay, just checking in on you. Just want to make sure everything's going great.
Aww.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
That is the best. But I can answer this question for 30 minutes, Sarah. I'm going to stop now. I had no idea.
No,
I could make lots of words out of that.
Perfect because it just comes natural to you to make sure that you see the best in women. And
it's easy to see the best in women. I don't understand people who say, oh, you work with a bunch of women. I'm like, oh, you work with a bunch of women?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I love how you overcame, people's perception of what the woman's role is supposed to be, and in management and in corporate, and having a bigger scale career, because you are unapologetically badass at the freaking core. Like that's where we get super excited to celebrate other badass queens for sure.
I always go back to the story because we're going to do a travel one, Jenna, and you'll have to listen in on this one because this is fun. We got some travel doozies. But I always thought about every time I traveled, it was week after week. And these are things that whenever you get on that trolley, whenever you get on that train, whenever you get in there and you're sitting up front with all the men in the suits. And I had this man say, how can you travel every week? What about your kids? And I was like, what about yours?
Like, can y'all put little light bulb emojis all over the screen for this?
Right.
Yes.
It is so
why is it different for me? Yeah.
It is so true. So true. We can go down that rabbit hole for sure.
I have to ask. So what was the general response when you would ask that, Sierra?
Well, I mean, I was sitting next to him on the bus and I literally it just snapped out of my body and out of my mouth. Like I didn't even think twice. And I was like, what about your kids? And he just sat there and was very, very quiet. But on another note, here I am, a female with a bag, with a dress on, and nobody ever got up for me. Like, where they're like, ma'am, would you like to sit in my seat? So you don't want to respect me like one of your peers, but yet you don't treat me as a lady sitting here either, and I just saw it over and over. And I was so observant with that. And I'm just like, there's no different. There's none. I am providing for my family. Is it hard? Because maybe they think, oh, emotionally, she can't handle it, like you said. But yeah, it was hard, but it's hard for a father to travel like that too.
Oh yeah.
So stop comparing. So for me, it just was such a defense it was such a like, well, what about you? But I don't think I had too many other accounts like that. Maybe occasionally sitting by yourself and people come up and be like, "Oh, you're by yourself." Yes, I'm traveling for work. Thank you very much. Mind your
Yeah.
business.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Let me enjoy me. I'd be at the restaurant. Okay, let me enjoy my wine while I'm on the computer and doing my work. Leave me alone.
Exactly.
So Jenna, you have so much that goes on in your world. How do you balance like your passion for your career with your, personal joys of travel and speaking engagements? How do you balance it all?
Very badly.
I love you.
Very
Thank
badly.
you for saying that,
I love
audience.
your honesty. I love it.
So one of the things that y'all know how people often say women struggle saying no. I do not struggle saying no. In fact, I only say yes to things that I want to do and that I'm passionate about. And so I never have those things when I'm just like, oh my gosh, I overloaded myself. They're like, well, what do you not want to do? Take it off the plate. I'm like, everything I said yes to, I want to do. And so what it means for me personally is I don't think I can have balance within a day. And sometimes I really can't have balance within a week. I can find balance within the month.
Mm-hmm.
I can have, I will be honest, since marrying, we moved out to the country. I live across from a cattle ranch. Our house is right smack in the middle of 10 acres. So traveling is not as easy for me for speaking engagements now. I still do it, but I will say that since marrying, rather than having 2 to 3 speaking gigs a month, I really do it maybe 6, 7, 8 times a year. So I really limit
Mm-hmm.
that now. And that's a little bit sad, but I have a partner now and I have to kind of speaking gigs happen on the weekend.
Priority. It's
Yeah,
priority.
it happens on the weekend. So I did cut some of that out. And he will say to me, okay, for 3 weeks, you've worked 12-hour days. I think you should probably put your phone down. That usually the first time he says it, he gets a little bit of attitude about it. But about the fourth time, about the fourth time he says it, I'm like, I think he's being subtle. Maybe and so I just finished an enormous project. Renee, you know about this project, but I finished an enormous project, or the majority of finished. This is one of those things that we'll never finish.
Never finish.
Never finish. And I spent probably 8 to 10 weeks, honestly, working 14-hour days, 6 days a week, and then maybe just 8 hours that 7th day.
Wow.
So it was a big investment of time. It was very much a passion project. I was very excited to do that. And now I'm coming into that, okay, we can go back to normal. We can start, this afternoon, I'm gonna go get my nail fixed. I broke my nail last Saturday. What is it? Thursday. I'm going to go get it fixed. So the balance doesn't come for me easily. Mm-hmm. And it never comes in a day, but it does come at least over a month. So
I love that.
Maybe that doesn't work for everybody. True. And if you have small kids, it probably won't work at all. But where I am in life, it works for me.
It's reality, Jenna. It's literally reality. And we can't expect people to like be walking around and saying you have to be a perfect mom or you have to be a perfect wife. Because when you have passion behind something, you love it so much that those 14 hours for those 8, 10, 15, 20 days, whatever it may look like, to you was important.
Yep.
And those that support you will recognize that. And those that really do not support you, they don't get that value of that. But then you give it back 10 times fold to the person who's saying, okay, can you put your phone down for 5 seconds? You're like, I will, honey, in 10 days. And I'm going to give you all the loving you need.
Right, right. But that's the thing. When you find something that you are passionate about, it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like work. It's
Not at
fun.
all.
It's like we get to do XYZ like that. And we're all in the same boat where we support and work with and coach or train, connect with other women. And that just continues, like that just fuels us. When you go, like, if we had
Yeah.
an impact in somebody else's life, then holy shit, like this feels good. I want to do more of this, right?
Mhm.
So
Yes.
it's not like, oh, I gotta work, damn it. It's like we get to help women look and feel like $1,000,000 freaking bucks and build their $100,000 fuck it funds. Every single one of us gets to do that here on this call. That
Yeah.
is like mind blowing, exciting,
It
right?
is. It
It
is.
is.
I love it. I love it. How does your role, because you, Miss Jenna, for those that don't know or haven't caught this yet, the head of US sales for Bella Grace, how does that role allow you to continue your message of growth and transformation for women?
It was I had initially started with Bella Grace back in 2021 before the company launched. And the only thing they really were introduced to me as was they needed someone to write for the field. And
Hmm.
obviously something I could do in my sleep. And so I was writing for them, and they did pre-launch. And at the time I had several clients. I had Scout and Seller and another client that I was also working with. And one of those clients offered me what I thought was my dream job. And I went to the CEO and said, I've been offered my dream job. And they said, please, we're not in a position where we can give you that role, but
Aw.
we will be. We will be. And we value you and we love you. And I said, okay. And they said, just give us 30 more days. Let's see if we can get there in 30 days. And at the end of the 30 days, they came to me and they said, you still want to go, don't you, to your dream job? And I said, yes, I do. And how many of y'all have ever thought something was a dream and it
Yes.
was the opposite of a
Yeah.
dream?
Yes.
And it was one of those things where literally I knew within 2 months, like it was the opposite. Now, did God use it to grow me in some areas and to heal me in some
Yes.
areas? Absolutely. He will take the worst experience and get good out of it. But
Mhm.
by the next year, I stayed with that job for, I really loved the field, guys. I believed in the women in that field so much. They had some incredible talent. They had drive. They were great at relationships. So I just focused on that part. Like,
Mhm.
forget about other things that were happening. Just focus on the field, help them succeed. It's what I
Yeah.
love to do. Well, the relationship came to a screeching halt. And about 3 or 4 weeks later, I messaged the CEO at Bella Grace and I never told him that, I was available again. I never,
Mhm.
as far as I was concerned, I knew they had a great team. They were doing fabulous
Mhm.
things, but it was their conference. And so I messaged the CEO at Bella Grace and I just said, hey, I know your conference is this weekend. You're going to rock it. And she
Aw.
messaged me back and she said, I just wrote a book and I really need some help. Do you have a few hours? I know you're very busy, but do you have a few hours to help me? And I said, as it happens, I have a few hours.
Wow.
And this was like Wednesday, and their conference started on Thursday. And
Mm.
she said, okay, I'll be in touch with you. On the following Monday, I got a message that said, send us your resume right now, from Bella Grace. And I sent it to him. And the next day, Leela, who is their chief marketing officer, called me and said, so I hear we get to hire you back.
Oh my
Oh.
And I mean, literally, that's how it happened. And
wow.
so Leela, she said, Jenna, I want you doing the things that you love to do. And we have a role here called Love Division, which, if you've worked for other direct selling companies, it was basically recognition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
guys, telling women they're doing a fabulous job.
I mean, hello.
hello,
Right.
and just pointing out, and not just saying you're doing a fabulous job, but saying, wow, this training, like Renee, one of the things that Renee does incredibly well is she builds inspiration in people. And she is able to do that in a way that makes people believe I can do this. I can really do this. And I've told you that before, Renee, but being able to see what someone's talent is and what someone's doing well and recognize them for it, that's a dream job. And so that's what I was doing. We went on a company incentive trip, I think the second company incentive trip, and they had said to me, hey, we need someone to present these awards on sale on stage. You're the recognition person. Would you do it? And I said, sure. Well, afterwards, the executive team was like, we didn't know you could speak that way. We didn't know that you could connect with audiences that way. We've got this role. We were actually looking for someone to be head of sales. Would you like to take it? And I'm like, actually, what I said was, I am so thrilled, but you paid for me to go to a spa appointment and it starts in 5 minutes. I've got to go.
Love it.
Priorities. It's work-life balance.
They had paid a lot of money for that spa package for me.
You're like, as soon as I get done with my spa, we're going to finish this conversation. Thank you.
Well, the next morning I get a message that said, hey, can you come to our room? The CEO and Leela was there, of course. And they were like, can you come to her room? And so they start talking about the role. And they said, you never said whether you'd take it or not. You said you had to go to your spa appointment. I didn't want to waste their money. I didn't. It was really me being about them. I was protecting their assets, ladies. Protecting their assets.
There you go.
And so that's how it evolved. And I have to say, I love what the company's doing. I believe in their model of using influence and not traditional network marketing. I just believe that they're on the cutting edge of what every company needs to seriously consider if they want to remain profitable or if they want to become profitable again. So that's kind of how that evolved. A spa appointment was involved, ladies. Balance, as Sierra asked, balance.
It is balance. So what advice do you give to women that's trying to, like, they want that high paycheck of network marketing along with that high appeal, that social selling? What advice would you give to them?
I would think about, what is it that you really excel at? Is connection what you excel at? Is representing a product what you excel at? Is connecting with people over social media what you excel at? Figure out what you excel at. Figure out what you need to succeed, and whatever you don't do well and can't delegate, learn to do. Learn it. Everything is figure outable. Everything.
Yep, I love that.
And for me, math, I outsource math. Nobody has in my entire life paid me to do math. And you know what? I never plan to do that. I will always outsource that. If it's a calculator, if it's a spreadsheet, whatever.
Oh my God.
But there are new skills to learn. And if you are going to remain relevant in any business, whether it is social selling, network marketing, bookkeeping or beekeeping, whatever you're going to do, you're going to have to learn new skills. You're going to have to progress, and you're going to have to keep growing. So do it. And if you will make that investment in yourself, you are going to reap the rewards, and the people around you are going to reap the rewards, because it's not so much what you become, it's the becoming process.
Amen. Amen. And especially like you evolved into like these roles in this new chapter after the age of 40. Like you've done all of these things, right? So that's what I really love sharing with the audience, is that I'll be double nickels in a few weeks. And you know what dawned on me yesterday? I had an epiphany. Now I knew I was going to turn 55 in December. right? But it
That
goes
didn't
to me.
surprise you. You were expecting that.
Right. It wasn't like a big ooh shocker. But yesterday it hit me that I could buy a house in a retirement community.
Oh boy.
And I didn't know whether or not I wanted to laugh my ass off or bawl my fucking eyes out. I'm like, where
Oh.
am I?
Renee, laughter through tears is my favorite emotion.
There you go.
Oh.
You don't
But
have
I
to
was
choose.
kind of like, oh, I can be the golf cart queen,
Ah.
right? Drinking my wine, hanging on the golf cart, toot toot. Like anyone like you, here you go, collagen for you, lip plumper for you, and like I could be. That's totally going to be my jam. I like now. I am going. Oh, this is great. But that's the thing is, women can reinvent themselves after 40, after 50, after 60, learn new tools, and become.
Man.
Enjoy the process of becoming.
You know,
Yes.
I until you and I talked about it, I forgot that my life became amazing after 40. Like it was great.
Yes.
It was a great life.
Yeah.
But I was focused on raising kids and I had a career I enjoyed, but the amazing stuff all happened after my 40th birthday. Now, I won't lie. I remember going through a checkout line when I was like 40 and 3 months. My ex-husband had just left. It was very fresh. And guys, like
Oh.
looking back, it took me a long time to recover from that. Like it was not a quick
Yeah.
process. So he had just left and we're walking through I'm walking through the checkout line. I'm by myself and the cashier, I must have bought wine because the cashier looked at my um license and says, "Oh, I see you're 40. That was one of the best years of my life." I burst into tears, like right in front of the checkout line, like totally burst into tears. But you know, all my favorite trips, Copenhagen, of course, Paris, London, places in Ireland whose names I can't remember, but were beautiful. Um, Gozo Island, right off of, why can I not even think of the name of this guy? Anyway, um, all of my favorite trips after 40, all of
Wow.
my favorite career moments after
Yep.
40, all of
Yep.
my favorite relationship moments with my best girlfriends, with my children, with my husband, not the old one, the new one. All of my favorite relationship moments after 40.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, don't be scared of a number. I remember when I was 30, guys, when I was 29 coming on 30, I remember saying, I can't wait to be 30. I'll know who I am and I'll know what I want and I won't care what people think about it. 30, nothing.
Yeah.
All the best moments of my life, and I had a good life before 40, but all the best moments of my life have been since 40.
My dad always said, Jenna, he said, you're going to love your 40s because you're going to know who you are, but your 50s are going to truly be the golden years. He goes, and then the 60s, not so much. It hurts to get up.
I've got some collagen for that. I've got some collagen.
Right. We got college for that. It is true because 50s, I'm having a ball. And I really became that unapologetic. It took me a while to kind of let go of other people's expectations or ideas of me. And I think that Sarah and I spoke about this even on another episode, but that I think you have to go through life in order to get to that point. If,
Yes.
it's, and you have to go through the shit in order to get to that point. Like it's not all about like, oh, all the greatness. It's about being in the valley and then how do you get out of that valley?
We just have to think of it as fertilizer for the valley.
It's
fertilizer happens.
Yes. We've had a lot of fertilizer through the years. Lots and lots of fertilizer. But
look at the fabulous growth and fruit that came out of that fertilizer.
Absolutely. Freaking yes.
Yes.
What piece of advice, you had like one piece of advice you would give to, a woman listening over 40 who might be experiencing life changes unexpectedly?
Know that you get to shape your life. So when a chance comes up, if you're scared, doesn't matter. If it's a chance to be maybe even something you never even dreamed of being, take the chance. You get a do-over. If it turns out to be a wrong turn, make a U-turn.
Yep.
But don't be
Yep.
afraid to take the chance. And honestly, if you're not doing it scared, it's not courage.
Oh, that is perfect. That is
True.
perfect. So what's next for you? Any, do you have any?
You can always quit. You can always change. So
Yes.
just take the risk and, I mean,
Be
give it a
like
try.
Nike.
Chance. Give yourself
Just
at least
do it.
3 months for it to become a habit. And in that 3-month time frame, if it just isn't the right thing or the right fit or the right place or the right person, you know what? You can just say no.
Sierra, you know what? One of my favorite keynotes talks about creating the neural pathways of change. And I is honestly, it's my absolute favorite keynote to give. It's professional, it's not faith-based. There's some faith to it because you do have to believe that you're made for more.
Yeah.
To take the risk. But absolutely take it, do it, and don't be and if you find out 12 months down the road this isn't it, that's okay. That's okay. Choose something else because another opportunity is going to come. But if every opportunity comes and you just keep letting it go by and letting it go by and you're letting fear take over, you're going to sit in the same place and you're going to be the same person in 5 years that you are right now.
Yeah.
That's not enough. That's not enough.
We only get one life, right? You only get one life. So just do it and say that you did it.
For sure.
I love that. Just do it and say that you did it. Yeah.
Be like Nike. So what's next for you? You have any, do you have any exciting projects coming up or personal?
You know what? I've got a couple of irons in the fire. I started work this week on a project I'm super excited about. You ask questions like that, and then I'm like, oh wait, I can't really talk about that.
Oh,
so I've chosen a couple of projects that are in alignment with the things that I feel really strongly about. I have been outlining some personal development stuff and some tools for people who are in the direct selling and social selling industry that help leaders maximize what they're doing. So that's an independent project that I've been working on, and it's been slow because I've been working on professional projects for like Bella Grace and things like that, clients like that. And I'm also working, as always, working on the book that, is going very slowly.
Wow. But I love that you have, these multi-passions and you're able to do it all and enjoy it. That's fantastic. I'm excited to see what you have when you announce it.
I will make sure that that both you and Sierra know about it.
Fantastic.
Sure. Thank you.
Anything else you want to share with our audience?
Just make sure you take time for the things like listening to this podcast that really feed you. Make sure you take time for the things that build your belief in who you are and who you can become, because you will starve if you're not taking that time to feed that part of yourself. You will starve, and what do starving people do? They lose energy. They lose excitement. So take the time. Listen to a 5-minute TED Talk. Pop this podcast. Guys, I know a secret. Renee listens to inspiring podcasts in the shower. She bought a shower speaker and she listens to inspiration. I messed up. She listens to inspiration in the shower. I think my life just changed. I'm about to buy a shower speaker.
I mean, we have to manage our time. There's only so many. We have 168 hours a week, and all of us here are multi-passionate. There's lots of things that we have going on. So I don't drive to work. Knock on wood. Thank you, Lord. I work from home, which is great. But because of that, I also don't allow myself time within that day to just sit and be and listen. So that's why I, listen to it with the Bluetooth speaker in the shower and,
And that's why and I'm an audio reader. So like when I read a book, I usually choose audio because I can read it and I can listen to it while I'm cooking, while I'm in the shower, while I'm putting on makeup. And for me, it works better that way. So, hey, you know what? To each his own, but buy a speaker. We'll post a link on one that Renee has. No, Renee, I don't know if you can do that.
I know. That's the one thing I don't sell. That's
No,
the
we don't
one thing
sell
I don't
that.
sell.
We don't sell speakers, but we're gonna post one so that if you guys just want to click on it and be fancy like us, do your thing, ladies. Because who cares? Do it and say you did it.
Yep, there you go.
You know what? I actually do have a recommendation. There is a book, in addition to y'all's podcasts and some of the TED Talks, there is a book that I think every person, and particularly women, should read. My dad asked me to read the book when I was 18 or 19, and my dad never asked anything of me. He was always, I was daddy's girl. He always encouraged me, but he asked me to read a book, and I read it, and I've read it over a dozen times since then. I've also listened to it, Sarah. And if you can read this book or listen to this book, I really believe if you will apply what's in this book, it will change how you see people. It will change how you deal with people, and therefore it will change the trajectory of your life. And that book it's an oldie, but it's How to Win Friends and Influence People by Carnegie.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it changed my life and the trajectory of my life at such a young age that oftentimes I have to remind myself they may not know this information if they haven't listened to or read this book. It's incredible.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
I
you for
think I
sharing.
have it somewhere. I don't think it's in this room, but I have it. I read it many years ago too, and it really is so powerful.
Yeah.
The person that you are, you don't even know in some cases how you can influence, but then there's ways and times that you need to actually have that gift of influence. And it's such a good gift. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that with
Thank
everybody.
you. We can do a whole episode on that and the power of influence, because that's an entire that's all aspects of our life. We
Absolutely.
influence everybody within our circle. We influence our kids, our husband, spouse, significant other, any in all different ways. So
My
Well,
husband
thank y'all.
still to this day, he goes to work and he's like, "You would be so proud of me. I gave recognition to all my." Oh my God, he's gonna listen to this. But I give recognition to all my guys, and you're gonna even be more proud of me. I asked for permission. I said, "May I?" It's like, baby, you did so good. And I didn't even know that I was like influencing him, but he was
yeah.
hearing it over and over and over again. And now he applies it. He's a director of a very big company, and he applies these little things that he just heard me say and use.
I love it. Ladies, thank y'all for having me on this. I have enjoyed our conversation so much. Like,
Thank
I'm
you.
going to go through the rest of this day. Who knows what I'm going to accomplish, because I'm so energetic from just all the energy y'all were giving, all the great times we've had. This is going
Yeah.
to be a fabulous day. I'm glad we did this early.
I
Well,
know, early, but I really appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing your story. You truly are unapologetically badass, and I just absolutely adore you. Can't wait to see what's in store next. So,
Yes,
same.
Jenna, thank you so, so much for joining. I mean, like, it's so amazing to have women who have accomplished so much and overcome so much, from writer to corporate to, contractor to, just being a mom and
every-
dealing with the life struggles of divorce. I mean, it's so important to us that we have women like you on here. And we're just so delighted by just your empowerment. Thank you.
Well, y'all are inspiring, and keep doing exactly what you're doing, because I absolutely love it. And now I know the best way to listen to the podcast is with water gently falling on me.
exactly.
Water for some people and some women, water creates creativity. I am a water girl. As soon as you put me in the water, all of a sudden I have all the creative ideas. I don't know about y'all.
That's
I'm going to tell my husband that about the hot tub.
I was going to say, because there are some episodes where water may be either a bubble bath or a hot tub with a bottle of wine, because you're going to laugh your ass off on some of the episodes, the stuff that we share.
I think did our dating one air already? Because that was a doozy.
I haven't seen it.
No, but we did divorce.
Our divorce one. Yeah, the divorce one. That's a hard one. So, and you'll
the dating one is funny as hell. Yeah. Ooh. Oh, there's so much to share. So thank you everyone for listening to us. Stay unapologetically badass, and we will see you on the next one.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all. All right, queens, that's a wrap for today's episode. But before you hit pause, let's talk about you and how we can help you slay every part of your life. If you're ready to feel fabulous and look like $1,000,000, I've got you covered with my badass queen coaching, sparkling touchstone crystal jewelry, and Bella Grace collagen, because glowing skin and a sparkly vibe, that's a power move. Check it all out at reneecarbonefleming.com. And my co-host Sierra, oh yeah, she's bringing the heat too. Not only is she rocking Bella Grace collagen for her glow game, but she's also the queen of chic with her fabulous clothing boutique. From boosting your wellness to leveling up your wardrobe, Sierra's got the magic to help you shine inside and out. Check her out at linktree/Sierra Weiner 7. So here's the deal. Head to our websites, grab the goods that'll help you live your best life, and let's make everything about you unapologetically badass. And hey, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with your fellow queens, because the more sparkle in the world, the better. Until next time, keep glowing, keep slaying, and remember, you're a badass queen who deserves it all.